Hi. So before we try to understand what HRV or SDNN and pNN and NN intervals are, let's just try to understand how the heart beats in general. So, say for example, you have a heart rate of 75 BPM. You check it somewhere and it shows 75. So that does not mean that your heart is beating like this 75, 75, 75, 75, 75. No, it beats a bit like this 75, 77, 81, 76, 74, and so on and so forth. You'll find some sort of a wave pattern in it, some sort of variability in it. In fact, greater the variability that you have, in general, the more healthy your system is, right? So let's just try to break down it a little bit. So what does 60 bpm mean? It means that 60 beats per second. That means that for every second there is one beat per second, 60 beats per minute, right? So with that rate, if you assume that rate, it also means that it's one beat per every 1000 milliseconds, right? One beat per second, 1 second is equal to 1000 milliseconds, right? Now let's convert this into a bit of a different graph. So if your heart, say theoretically, is beating at 60 bpm consistently, the graph will look a bit like this. These are your heartbeats, right? And the interval between two heartbeats will be 1000 milliseconds, 1000, and so forth, right? In theory. Now in practical, what basically happens is that it will be more like 1100 milliseconds, 1040, 1020, 950, and so on. Some sort of variability, as we saw here. Your heart does not beat flat like this, but there's a bit of variability like this. And when you convert that into a millisecond NN format, it will probably look like this. The intervals will be jagged. They won't be equally spaced. Some intervals will be shorter, some will be longer. Shorter means that your heart is beating faster. Longer means that your heart is beating a bit slower, lower BPMs and so forth, right? Now, as I said earlier, variability in your heartbeats is desired, as that indicates a better health, right? So say for example, you're not feeling sick, or in general your health levels are not that good. So what will happen is that your heartbeat will probably look like this: 75, 77, 75, 77, 75, 76, 79, 75, something like this. There won't be a lot of variability. The graph will be much more flat, right? It won't be totally flat, that's not possible, but the variability component will be much less. Say for example, you're healthy, then it will look a bit like this: 75, 76, 79, 82, 80, 74, so on and so forth, right? You'll see a good uniform wave being formed in your heartbeat BPM plot, right? Now, similarly, if you just convert these two into an NN millisecond format, right? So this is much more flat. So in the millisecond format, this is the interval, this is the distance between two heartbeats. NN are two heartbeats. These are two heartbeats. And the time it takes between the two heartbeats, we're just essentially converting this into this. So if it's relatively flat, it will probably look a bit like 800, 810, 780, 790, 775, 790. There's not a lot of difference between the milliseconds value. As you see, these are all theoretical values. They'll vary, right? But say for example, you have good variation, right? In that case, the millisecond graph will look a bit like this: 690, 730, 840, 795, 750, 810. There's a lot more difference in the successive beats. One may be like this, second may be like this, third may be like this, then it will come like this, then it will come like this. The variation, the same variation that you see will be seen here as well, right? As you see, the NN here will be much more uniform, and here it's much more spaced out, and there's a lot of variability between the two, right? So taking these two as examples, and if we want to learn what pNN20 is. So in the first say sample we have 6 beats, 6 NN intervals, and in them this is the only one, these two 810 and 780, where there's a difference of 30 milliseconds. Everywhere else if you see, this is say 10 milliseconds, this is 15, this is 790 and 775, this is also 15. So there's not a lot of difference between these two, and also the first one, this is also just 10 milliseconds, but between these two 780 and 810 there is a decent amount of spacing, which is 30 milliseconds. Now this one qualifies as an pNN20 beat because this is 30 milliseconds. If it is more than 20 milliseconds, it will qualify as a pNN20 heartbeat, right? So out of the 6 ones that we have, one qualifies as a pNN20 beat, right? So if you want to convert that into percentage, it will be, you can divide this 1 divided by 6. Hey, 1 divided by 6 कितना का percentage है? How much does that come to in percentage? Whatever, we'll convert that. Anyways, now coming to the second one. In second one, you will see quite a lot of spacing. So the first one that you see is 40 milliseconds. The second one is 110 milliseconds. This one again quite a lot, again quite a lot, right? So I think all of these qualify as pNN20 beats, right? Okay, see for example just 4 of them qualify, not all, say 4 of them qualify. In that case it's 4 by 6 is how much? 66%, right? And this one comes to around 16%. So as you can see, this is much more healthier, this is much less healthier. So this one has around 16. So 16 in general is also considered quite good for pNN20, and this one has 66, which is much higher, and again 66 is pretty good for pNN20. Now if you apply the same theory for pNN50 as well, instead of 20 milliseconds it converts to a 50 millisecond beat interval, right? So I hope we understood the concept of pNN20. This is pNN in percentage, this is pNN in percentage. So again I hope that we understood the concept of pNN20 and similarly pNN50 as well. Now how do you improve your HRV and say for example your pNN levels? So the obvious ones are get good sleep, there's diet, there's your lifestyle, meaning the amount of stress you take and so on. Stress is a big one in this one, but the most direct one is probably breathing exercises. Now just harmonious breathing, say 4-minute inhale, 4-minute exhale, or 4-second inhale, 4-second exhale, 6-second inhale, 6-second exhale. If you just do this for say a minute or 2, this will instantly bring your nervous system and your heart into a bit of a resonance. So what will happen is that, and this is something that we've seen with thousands of people, say for example your heartbeat is a bit like this, it's relatively flatter. The moment you start doing this, it becomes like this, you start developing waves. What happens is that when you inhale, your heart rate goes up, when you exhale it comes down. Inhale, up, down, up, down. Now this happens without fail. This is this is a physiological concept, something called RSA, respiratory sinus arrhythmia, in which your heart rate goes up with your inhales and comes down with your exhales. So by using your breath, you can control your nervous system and your heartbeats into breathing in a much more resonant and a way, and in a way that there is much more variability in it. So breathing, one of the easiest way to do it, and one of the easiest way in which you can actually see these heart waves by performing all these breathing exercises, is our app Mind Breath. You'll probably find it in the description, but it's called Mind Breath, MINDBREATH, right? So I hope that I answered the question. If you have any more questions, feel free to connect and comment, right? Thank you.